Welcome back to another episode of 12 Minutes with Berc. I am your host, Berc. Today, we are going to talk about the very key to cognitive skills, motivation and self-awareness. Very quickly, I would like to be very brief. Motivation and self-awareness are about only knowing yourself and driving yourself. It's an ability to understand your own emotions, strengths, and the limits in order to be always stay focused, resilient, and inspired, especially when things are getting very complicated. Within this very complicated and the pace change world, Gen Zs are getting very attached to have a work where identity and the work are closely linked to each other. So it is the reason that these two skills are getting very important for Gen Z. So today, I'm extremely excited to welcome Nazlı Berberoğlu talking about the motivation and self-awareness. Very quickly about herself, 2 decades of expertise and experience in advertising, brand management, partnership building, and business development. Nazlı is currently leading the operations across 4 countries as the country manager of the Coca-Cola. Countries are UAE, Oman, Bahrain, and Qatar. Nazlı, welcome. Our 12 minutes started.
Hello, Berc. It's great to be here. Thank you for hosting me.
Nazlı, let's talk about a bit motivations and its fundamentals. Currently we always assume that motivations come from the big wins and the promotions, but it often needs require some rebuild quietly behind the scenes. So you need to set some small rituals and the habits in order to be always motivated. It requires also sometimes outcome independent thinking. In your opinion, how are you always being stated motivated?
Berc, first of all, I really do believe that motivation is not about the outcome. So it's not an award or punishment system. For me, motivation is really the process and how you are defining that process for yourself. For example, let's talk more about professional life. If you have a project, there are, I think, 4 basic questions that we should ask yourself. So, do you believe in what you are doing? Because sometimes we get really tasks that we feel it's not something that is really valid or is not valuable. So do you really believe in what you are doing? Are you able to do it? Do you have the technical skills, the know-how to do that task? Thirdly, are you empowered to do it? So is the entity, the organization empowering you to do that? Fourth is for me the award. So what will be the outcome if you are doing it? So how I believe it's not the process, I also do believe it's in our hands to motivate ourselves to do it. So look at those 4 questions. Let's take believe in what you do, for example. If you don't believe in what you do, can you change the project, reshape the project in order to reshape it to become in something that you believe in, is in line with your values? Second, if you don't have the technical skills, how can you develop yourself? If you are not empowered, do ask, what can I do more to be empowered? Do talk with your leadership team. If you don't believe in the results, also you can challenge that piece. So you can shape the way the process works for you in order to be more motivated. So these are the small things that I always ask myself. Am I ticking any of those questions? Yes or no? And how can I change it?
That's an amazing answer. So here, one of the things that I can add that self-reflection also matters in order to be always the motivated, because nowadays everyone always is staking to have accomplished points. They say that, hey, I did it. Hey, I closed a big deal. Hey, I graduated. So what's next? Everyone is being in the position to look for the what's next. So the question is it what's next or is it the journey? Journey matters. In order to have the journey focused lifestyle, the outcome independent thinking also one of the key enablers for being always stayed in the self motivated, right?
Definitely. And also if you are more outcome focused, Berc, you are also more dependent on other people. But motivation should be really triggered by yourself. And most of us were in situations where we needed to motivate ourselves. I think a outcome dependent and external dependent motivation, you can lose very easily. If it comes from within, you can have a sustainable motivation in everything that you are doing.
then it's going to trigger me another question, which might be related to this. I know that you're covering 4 different countries in the Middle East region, and you're leading one of the top FMCG firm in the region. So you're like, the directly, indirectly collaborating, managing, or working or reporting to the high stake teams. So within these conditions, I'm pretty sure that you might be faced at difficult positions or difficult times where you need to keep the things moving, but you need to have that internal like motivation factors, right? So how would you manage? Describe a moment where can be a great example for specifically our listeners, hopefully the Generation Z.
Yeah. I want to reflect back to a time I think is relevant for all of us. And I think it changed the way we are working, which is, of course, the pandemic times.
Mhm.
And I think it's a very good example because it is an external factor, way beyond us, way beyond our country we are living in. It's impacted the whole world. So we were sitting every day in front of our computers without having a physical relationship with anyone from our work project or from our colleagues. So I think self-motivation was very, very important during that time. And I think this is where I started to challenge myself, and this internal motivation thing started. Because at the beginning, I think we were all in a victim mindset. This happened to me, I'm at home, it's not easy to work home, some of us got children at home, etc. And I think some of us got really disconnected and demotivated from what we are doing. So within a couple of weeks, I said, okay, we have this situation. It is what it is. And I also said to the teams that I was working with, guys, it is what it is. We are at home, but we need to deliver somehow. So how we can change it to a victor mindset, from victim mindset to the victor mindset. So we really set up some routines in between that we felt were right for us, that were motivating us to a more positive mood. And I think changing this mindset really triggered this victor mindset, and we discovered the opportunities within. We didn't need to run to the meetings. We didn't need to drive to the meetings. We were not stuck in traffic. So we really leveraged the time to use all of those additional work to create the engagement within the team, which increased really the motivation of the teams that we were working with. So I think every one of us has a story that they are telling during COVID times, most probably. But I think COVID was the most challenging time where myself and the team was trying to keep the motivation high. And we really made this shift from victim to victor mindset in order to overcome this.
That's an amazing statement that I might be planning to use in the future, victim to victor mindset. So from that point of view, I would like to jump a bit like leadership. Today's conversation is not directly leadership, but with my around 17 years experience, I started to realize and I started to put more like focus on like, the statement that working people who are smarter than you, managing people who are smarter than you are priceless. So leadership role, fairly speaking, also in our firm or in general, the firms that I worked as well, we were always looking for to hire smarter people than the management team. Okay, that's the main point. People who are smarter than you on the table. But as a leader, our main responsibility also to find a way to motivate them to create a more self-aware people. So a professional, a leader in the region for countries covering, how would you help your team members to become more self-aware and be motivated, self-motivated?
I think smart nowadays means actually being self-aware.
Right.
What I mean with that, when maybe we started our career journeys, being smart in the room meant to have the most technical skills, most know-how, more information, more data. But right now, being smart doesn't mean any of this, because with a look at your computer, ask ChatGPT, you have the whole world's information in your hand. So self-awareness, I think, is the new smart. Self-awareness for me is really knowing your strengths rather than your weaknesses, I would say. I want to give an example. Imagine you are starting a new role. So I changed a lot of functions when I was moving in my career. I moved from marketing to public affairs to commercial, which always required me to learn new skills. And there were always some people who were doing the job that I was doing longer than me. There were PAC leads who were doing PAC, public affairs and communications, for 20 years, for example. Of course, I cannot know more than those people. So I said to myself, okay, what are the skill sets that I'm bringing to the table? It's not the technical know-how, of course, but I have other skills that I'm bringing from my past experiences. I bring from my character strengths to the table. So listing all of those, I try to leverage these skills with different levels, tuning up, tuning down, in order to drive the business, in order to do the problem solving, in order to manage the stakeholder relations. So leveraging more my strengths rather than trying to build my weaknesses really helped me in order to move on in my career. So I really do believe that having those self-awareness, high self-awareness, is the new smart. And knowing how to leverage your strengths, when to leverage them, and how to impact people and influence people around you and your teams with those skill sets.
That's fabulous answer. At the bottom line, you're just encouraging your team members to focus on their strengths. And since the time is getting very short, I would like to ask your opinion in general, or your recommendations for the next generations, next leaders, Generation Zs, who are specifically working, studying in the Middle East, GCC regions. Why do you think that the self-awareness is more important than ever for them? And what are your recommendations for them?
Technology is developing. This is a fact. And I'm more on the believers that technology and AI will change us for a better good. Definitely. There are different camps, but I'm more on the camp that loves AI and that loves to play with it. So the people who will be able to play with it and integrate into the way they are living, they are working more the technological sides and predictive AI, will win in the future. This is one. But second, which is more important than this, although we believe the opposite, the human social skills will be key in order to create competitive edge among us. So the more we develop our human skills, especially the social skills, we will win. What I mean with those social skills, there are, of course, a lot of different skill sets, but there are some of them that are in your character, which are hard to build, and some of them you can really build. Creativity, for example, is something that you can work on and that you can build. Human relations, interaction with different people, influencing people, you can build. So you need to really map strategically what are the skill sets that you are having already, what are the human social skill sets that you are maybe don't feel so strong, and really focus on developing them. So that would be my one ask to the Gen Zs out there. And this is regardless of the education that you are doing. You can really do it either you are in high school, at which stage in your career, you can sit down and strategically build on those. And the third piece that I would say is networking. The more people you know, the more important the networking begins to be in the future as well. And networking is a buzzword, Berc, that we all are using. I think we should really do strategic networking and understand what strategic networking is, because it will be not in which company you are working in the future. It will be who you know and how you are using those relationships in order to build yourself, build your career in the future. So those three things I think will be very, very important for Gen Z in the future.
That's an amazing point, specifically for your last point. I was able to, one of the NGO founders based in Istanbul and Canada right now, BNote, which is the think tank. So we are encouraging always the Gen Z to do connections, not networking, more than connecting to
Exactly.
context, deep connections. Networking right now, it's easy to know anyone, but connecting people matters. In addition to my last note, maybe on top of your points that might be very relevant, recently, this podcast is based on the framework of World Economic Forum's publications of cognitive skills. And right now, the recently report published in May 2022, they are saying that very clear. Cognitive skills will not be able to replicate it by AI. Everything will be replicated except cognitive skills. So it's an investment area for the Gen Z, even for us, even for baby boomers to focus on enhancing their human skills.
Definitely.
We hosted Nazlı today, and thank you for your amazing contributions and your time. That was a brilliant discussions on the motivation and self-awareness. So our 12 minutes ended. Thank you for tuning up 12 Minutes with Berc. And we are always looking for you to welcome in the next episode. Our episodes are being brought by One Network Media, which is one of the influential, most impactful Istanbul and Dubai-based media company. Thank you.
Thank you.